Welcome to the Farmstead Forum podcast, where homesteaders dig deep and grow together. I'm your host, Emily Faulkner. Today's episode is all about setting up your homestead, and I'm joined by Chris Musselwhite of Hollybottom Farm. From fencing failures to feeding without the feed stores, Chris shares real-life lessons in building a regenerative system from the ground up. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Farmstead Forum podcast, y'all. We're here to talk today about soil, soul, and sustainability. My guest today is someone reshaping what farming means, Chris Musselwhite. He's a regenerative farmer, entrepreneur, teacher, and the visionary behind Hollybottom Farms and the Living Roots Foundation. Chris, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Emily.
So we met each other about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it was probably about a year and a half ago through some
Yeah.
mutual friends.
Been very impressed with what you're doing on your farm and tasted the pork that you've raised. Your pastured pork's really good. If y'all are in the mid-Georgia area, you need to reach out to Chris and try his pork. So I guess we're going to hop into the content. So we're kind of talking about your background, like how you got into homesteading, started your farm, and really developed a passion for regenerative agriculture. Can you kind of start off by telling us how you got into homesteading?
Well, yeah, about 5 years ago, I had diverticulitis, and I wound up getting a massive infection in my intestines. And the doctor, I was rushed to the hospital, and the doctor immediately the next day had to remove 1.5 feet of my intestine, my lower intestine. And with that being said, after the surgery and everything in my recovery, we were sitting there in a doctor's office one day, and he told me, he says, "Chris, you need to be eating naturally." And I said, "What do you mean?" I said, I'm eating naturally, the way I was raised. And he got into explaining to me that what I was buying in the grocery store was not natural, that I actually needed to start growing my own food, because he said the majority of our food, up to 46,000 products in a grocery store, has corn in it, soy in it, of some derivative, shape, form, or fashion. And it was making me sick. So therefore, I started doing some research. The family had 16 acres here in Bibb County, and we had never done anything with it. I mean, we've been living on it since I was 11 years old, and it was always my father's dream to turn it into a farm. The time that I had off work is when I started doing my deep dive. And once I got better, I started looking into the farm and what I could do on that land and where I could actually go with it and what it could provide.
I just want to say, as hearing your story, like, I don't even know a doctor in our town that would take the time to do that for you and say, hey, here's what you need to do. And I think that, that's great that he did that, because look at the impact it had on your life and really getting you thinking about how you could prevent that from happening in the future. And you're so right that the stuff you get at the grocery store it's not real food. It's really not. So let's talk about what you started with on your farm, your soil conditions. Were you dealing with some good planting ground, or did you have to work on it a little bit?
No, it was bleak. It was sandy. It dripped of life. I mean, I had broom sedge everywhere, small oak trees that were diseased, but I didn't see it for that. I mean, I started looking at the land, looking at what I could do to the land, watching the water flow, because our land's a little hilly. We're up on the top. I was seeing that most of the nutrients was going to the bottom, and that there was no way it was holding water. So everything was running off down to the bottom. So I started actually humbling myself and realizing I had a long road ahead of me, and that I had to find ways to inject nutrients into that sandy soil.
So how did you start doing that? What was your first step?
My first step was actually finding wood shavings. So I found a local company that was cutting trees on power lines and easements, and a couple others that were doing it, like for their customers and all. And I had them start bringing those shavings out to the farm and letting them compost. So, I mean, that was a year in itself.
And were they putting those truckloads just out in your pasture? Did you have them focus on like a garden area that you wanted to do, or were you just having them dump it and everywhere?
Well, no, I mean, I actually put it down in the power line region of our farm. And then I also had them dump loads up there by the garden too, so they were accessible.
Okay. I know we have a chip drop that people can, I think it's like chipdrop.com or something, but they just dump it and you don't know when they're coming. They just like show up with a truckload of mulch and dump it somewhere in your driveway.
Well, believe it or not, I started riding around looking for these guys, and once I found them, I mean, they were relieved because they were actually having to take it way further than what they wanted to out of our area to actually be able to dump. So
Yeah, that's a good tip. Okay, what was your first big mistake as far as when you were starting out?
we had an older fence line, and I thought I could actually start with that. And so I've had sheep escape, goats escape. It was an everyday thing. I had a pig that escaped. So I realized I needed to step back a little bit and rebuild my perimeter fencing. And I've actually done that with 12 gauge high tensile wire and utilizing an electric fence. And so far, I've had no problems.
Okay, so that sounds like the way to go. They need to think
Right.
twice before touching the fence at all.
Exactly. It'll put a hurting on you for sure. We
Just
run about 30 joules. So, I mean, it does
ooh.
its job, definitely.
Well, tell us about your recent Zaxby's story.
One of my Rams actually escaped. That was the end of the road for me. When he escaped, he was gone for 4 days. He survived being in the woods with a bunch of coyotes. We do have some coyote pressure out here. And I got a phone call from one of my buddies that stated he was 4.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5 miles away in a Zaxby's parking lot. So we rushed up there, and he was actually standing in between two vehicles, and I was able to lasso him when he started to run, and we got him back on farm. Now, he was my escape artist, so I have since then sold him. I got him off the farm because he was a big headache for me. It was a
That
daily ritual with him.
that's what I'm learning, that if you have a jumper or one that's particularly prone to getting out of the pen, you just need to get rid of them. I'm hoping I don't
Well,
have to do that. I've got a goat that does that, and she's my favorite goat, unfortunately.
right. Well, I mean, you can either do that or do like I did and put up high tensile wire. I run 7 strands and I use wooden posts with insulators and all that, and I've had no problem since. And I've got a total of probably 14 sheep now and 6 goats and about a 600-pound hog. And they
So
don't
you
dare cross
did
that barrier.
you did your 15 acres, the perimeter, and then the cross fencing. Can you estimate like what your cost was for the fencing? So if someone were having
Um,
to, it depends on what farm animals you have, but for like a 15-acre
yeah,
property,
it does. It was probably around $2,800 because I used the
oh,
high tensile wire.
that's
It's
not as
not that
bad as I
bad.
thought.
And I may have put a little more into it. I mean, that's just off the top of my head. But I mean, the high tensile rolls of the 12 gauge wire, they probably run about 130 a piece. And so far, I've run 6 or 7.
And you run several wires down, right? There's like six or
Right. I run,
seven.
correct. I run
Okay, it's not
7
just like at the
strands.
top and the bottom of your fence. That is your fence. Is that
Right.
okay? Well, that makes sense why it's not quite as much because you're using the wire instead of a bunch of, the
The
welded
field fence.
fencing. Yeah, the
Yeah.
field fencing.
Well, when it comes to the post and all too, I go down to South Georgia. There's actually a manufacturer down there that cuts all these posts. So I get them fresh. They're not treated or anything, and I actually treat them myself. So I come out a lot
Oh,
cheaper doing that. You can get them about 350 a bundle.
oh, that's not bad.
No, it's not. But I mean, I have to put in the time and labor to actually treat them myself. It's worth it though.
So, how did you decide to design your homestead setup, like your different zones? Can you explain that for our listeners?
I can. I started off with a pen and a piece of paper. I started drawing it out. I started looking at the different designs that I was drawing out and the ability to rotate them easily. I didn't want things stretched out from one side of the farm to the other. I wanted to be able to rotate them continuously, weekly, and then that way bring them back to the top and start them over again. You've got to put it on paper. You've got to realize where your garden is because they're going to put pressure on your garden. You're going to have to make sure you got your fencing around your garden to protect it. You're going to realize that you're going to have your perimeter fence. And then once you do that, I mean, you can sketch in your paddocks and look at that and see. It depends on how many animals you have and what you're running, but you can see how much pressure it's going to put on that forage every week
Mm-hmm.
and make that
So,
determination.
So that's what you were mainly concerned about at first, like your rotational grazing, where you were going to move them to. Did you consider your garden space before you designed your farm layout?
I did. Yes, I did. I set aside the half acre. So that
Okay.
way I would have my garden space.
So you looked at where you were going to put your garden as well. Have you heard of sun mapping?
I have not actually.
So this is something I guess a gardener not would need to think about, not necessarily somebody with livestock, but I mean, you could tell me if you would think about it, but you're supposed to watch your property for a whole year. So that way you can see where the shade falls, where, because different seasons, the sun's going to be, in a different direction potentially, or cast shade on an area that maybe you wanted to put fruit trees there. It's not going to get a whole lot of sun.
Right.
I guess it wouldn't matter if you were going to make like an orchard and then rotate your livestock through the orchard to eat like
Right.
the fruit and stuff that falls that's not usable.
Well, it actually is on the south side of the property, upper part of the property, so it does get plenty of sun throughout the year.
Oh, very good. So, how did you try to lower your feed bill? Because you have that many farm animals, it's going to be a little pricey with
It can
feeding
get
them.
very pricey. We're actually planting ryegrass or bruisey rye, so clover, crimson clover, turnips, things of that nature, and we're putting them into the fields for the animals. They also get free forage too from the woods, so they go out and they decide kind of what they want to eat on. They're actually at this point, my woods are very thick. They're actually thinning them out for me and have created a canopy for themselves. And I have seen their health since I put them down in the second paddock transform. I mean, their coats are shinier, they look better. So they're getting what they need and they're able to do basically free choice as to what they want to eat.
Is that with all your animals or is that with the goats and the pigs
For the
or?
goats, the pigs, and sheep, they all get a chance at it. So they go through and kind of pick what they want to.
Yeah, the whole shiny coat thing, I didn't realize that you had to pay that much attention to the condition of the coat of the animal until I got these goats because yeah, they can get all kind of deficiencies or
They
lice
can.
in the wintertime, and that's super important when you're looking at your livestock every day.
Right.
I know that Sean and Beth Dougherty. Have you heard of them? They're like their big thing is how did your grandpa used to farm? And
Right.
they have dairy cows, but they lower their feed bills by planting pink banana squash, which I think if you had a large property, it takes up a lot of room. So and they don't produce as much the pink banana squash, and then also the tromboncino squash. Those are
Okay.
good. Those are good for high protein for livestock feed. They say the
Okay.
pigs love them too. I grew the pink banana, but I'll tell you, I only had two fruits off of two vines, but the vines were huge. So
Right.
I guess if you planted a bunch of it, maybe it would be worth your time for that.
I'll
Um,
definitely look into that.
Now, how did you deal with deworming, like parasites? What was your preference for treatment?
There again, I ran across an old farmer and we sat down one day and we're eating lunch and he says, Chris, you can use tannins. And I said, what are tannins? He said, tannins are some of the structures in black walnuts, pine needles, things of that nature that naturally deworm these animals. And that's what we have been utilizing on the farm. So I'll actually take the black walnuts and put them in their water buckets. I'll put 3 or 4 depending on how much water flow we've got going in or how big the water container is. And at least once or twice a month, I will give them pine needles and they will just gobble them up. They love them. And it
Now,
has
how
definitely helped. Go ahead.
the the black walnut, you put the covering, the nut, and everything in there, or do you put just the nut? Or I mean,
No,
I think I know what a black walnut looks like, but
I put the whole thing in there.
okay, and it just leaches out, I guess, into the water.
It leaches out into the water. I also feed them to my hogs too. They'll actually eat them. And every hog we processed has been parasite free and worm free. Everything inside internally looks great. And I have used no antibiotic.
Their immune system is probably healthier too, being in their natural environment, like pasturing and for the pigs rooting and doing what they're supposed to do.
Right.
They probably defend themselves a little better.
They do.
I know we have a lot of pine trees around our house, and I think you know the story about my goats escaping. For 4 months, they were loose out in the woods because they were wild and free on 300 acres before we got them. Then they were terrified of us, so they ran. And they looked really healthy when we got them. It wasn't until I put them in a pen that they started looking a little, one of them, her coat just looked kind of coarse but I think it was the pine needles. She was probably eating a lot of little pine trees that, grew out in this abandoned property next to our house. And they didn't look unhealthy at all.
Well, I mean, if you look at the difference, you look at the difference between a goat or cow or pig or sheep that has been kept in a feedlot or something like that. They're very dingy. They don't look healthy. Their coats are very disturbed. I mean, they're not shiny. I check my goats and my sheep all the time. I'll pull their eyelid down and look at it and see how pink it is, what the color of it is, to see if they're getting the correct nutrients they need to be getting. And like I said, I mean, even I had made that mistake. I had them in a small paddock when I started off. Their coats looked rough. And then once I started the rotational grazing process with them, I mean, they're just blossoming. I mean, they look
Mm-hmm.
extremely healthy.
Now, I didn't put this in the questions, but how do you ensure they're getting their minerals as you're moving them? Do you have like a little covered trough or something that they go and get that free choice mineral if
Well,
they need it?
I've got a bucket that I mix in just regular minerals, goat minerals or sheep minerals, and I also have one too, and both of them have covers over them, and they get free choice baking soda also, because you know goats and sheep both will get bloated, and it just helps calm down their rumen.
Oh, okay. So you put a covered bucket for baking soda and then your loose minerals.
Right, and I mean if I see them getting bloated and realize that they're not taking in the baking soda, I'll give them a bolus of baking soda, and usually within a day or two, I mean their sides go down and they slim back up. And sometimes, I mean, they're like us, they just overeat a little too much and it swells them up.
They do. They eat all the time. And what about on your land as far as I guess you have worms and black soldier flies that help
Right.
you with your
Right,
soil?
I've got containers that we actually raise black soldier flies in. It is a little smelly. It can be a little stinky, but I actually take them black soldier flies and I feed them to the chickens so that it gives them higher protein. And we do rotational grazing with our chickens also. So I mean, they're getting grasses and stuff like that to supplement their diet.
What do you feed the black soldier flies? Don't people give them like meat, like chicken carcass and stuff?
You can do meat. Right now we're actually doing brewer's grains. So I utilize the brewer's grains and leave them in buckets, and I'll actually go in there and scoop it out, and it's loaded with worms, the black soldier fly worms, and I'll take them up there and give them to the chickens.
You get those from like someone in your
I
community?
do. I get them from a distillery, and I get them free. I pick them up either.
Genius.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's think smarter, not harder as far as trying to lower the cost of your feed bill, recycle,
definitely.
community, integration. That's awesome. All right. You like to plant a lot of heirlooms on your property. Why is that?
The quality of the vegetables is a lot better. I have an issue going in the grocery store and buying vegetables and stuff because the flavors of them vegetables are not true. I mean, they're watery. They really have no nutrient. And if you grew up like I did, I mean, my grandma grew tomatoes. That was her prize vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved them. And I mean, I'm continuing that legacy basically.
Do you find yourself lonely on this homesteading journey? Join us for the Fall Farmstead Forum Conference, November 7th and 8th. It's a 2-day event you don't want to miss. Get your tickets now from the event section on our website. Use code ALLCAPS EARLYBIRD at checkout for a limited time discount. This offer ends September 1st. Would you like the VIP experience? Get exclusive lounge access, the speaker's lunch social, a swag bag, and more. Secure your spot today. All right, guys, we're back on. We got disconnected. This backcountry roads internet I have out in Heard County. Okay, so we were talking about heirlooms, Chris. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So you love to plant heirlooms, and you did finish talking about how they taste better. That you used to love how your grandmother's tomatoes tasted. That they were just richer and had a better flavor.
Correct. Yes, definitely. I mean, if you go to the grocery store today, the produce that you're getting in there it's no comparison to what you can actually grow in your farm with good soil. And I mean, the amount of vitamins and minerals that you're getting in the vegetables that you're growing on your homestead or farm is probably 5 times better.
Oh yeah, and just because something's organic at the grocery store doesn't mean that it's necessarily better for you compared to what you grow at home. Or it doesn't mean that it's nutrient dense, like you're saying.
Correct.
It's just you have more control over your soil health when you are growing it.
You do,
And then
definitely.
I also had mentioned the first time we recorded, I had mentioned how, the comparing a homegrown veggie that's, heirloom or whatnot to a store-bought, same thing with like eggs. When you compare your yolk, store-bought to pasture raised, there's just no comparison. It's like
There's no
anemic when you
comparison
look at something
whatsoever.
at the store, and there's no telling what you're missing as far as the nutrient quality. Okay. And tell us a little bit about your farm store that you're launching.
So I started off in the bottom pasture, and that's where I started with my animals. I started small, even though they were great escape artists. But I have grassed the bottom pasture. We're actually going to put a store down there. We're going to have local unpasteurized milk from a producer from South Georgia. We're going to be carrying goat soap, of course, our vegetables. And we're also going to have farm raised pork and eggs on site. And we're looking at doing a couple other things. I've got to get through a couple more steps with the USDA and get through a couple regulations, and I think we'll be good.
Do y'all make the goat's milk soap? Do you make it?
No, I've actually got two people I'm looking at right now to provide it. I don't have enough time in my day to make it, but I know it's a big seller, and it's extremely healthy versus all the chemicals that are in our day-to-day soaps these days.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you told me they're still going to have to label the unpasteurized, the raw milk. They're going to have to label it for pets, but we know what that means, don't we?
Correct.
That's just government sticking their hand where it don't belong.
I totally agree with you on that.
Okay. And then go ahead.
You glitched on me again. Are you there?
Oh, let's see. I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it kills me that we try to actually eat healthy and that the industrial side of farming and things of that nature have taken that away from us. I mean, they're strip mining the land. They're adding chemicals in there that shouldn't be in there. They're not providing the nutrients in the soil, and it's affecting our health. I mean, like we talked about earlier, it affected my health greatly. And I just want to get back to where our grandparents were when they were raising their own vegetables, raising their own meat, things of that nature. I mean, I've got grandparents now, my grandmother and grandfather are close to 100. They lived off their land. I mean, everybody took care of everybody in the communities. And the nutrients that they were putting in their bodies was totally different than what we're doing today. I mean, you can go to a restaurant and you're not getting even half of what you need on a daily basis. So I think we truly need to get back to starting with the soil. I mean, enriching our soil and giving it what it needs, because it is living. There is no doubt. And growing what we need and producing the meat that we need, not organically, but regeneratively. I mean, on pasture with grasses, with no chemicals and no byproducts.
Yeah, limited inputs.
Correct.
As far as your feed goes to trying to get more natural and back to the way they were supposed to be. Let me ask your opinion real quick while we're on the topic. What's your opinion on like heritage breed livestock and the importance of that as far as it being an original breed?
Well, I think the original breeds are better than the genetic bioengineered ones that we've got now. I mean, when I buy my hogs, I buy my hogs from a guy out of Dublin, Georgia, or Dudley actually, that has some of the oldest bloodlines in Georgia, and they've never been tampered with. His dad's dad raised them and on up to him. So, I mean, I think it's very important because, I mean, I think when we tamper with what God originally gave us, I think we're going down the wrong path. And I mean, I think a lot of people are waking up now and seeing that with their health and everything else as a result of types of food that we're putting in our bodies and running through a drive-through.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I say that all the time. The more man messes with something, the more he messes it up. That goes for practicing medicine, but it also goes, like you're saying, for breeding, plant genetics, and, as far as hybridization of the plants makes them more prone to disease and pests and all that stuff. I just look at the peach industry in Georgia, like the peach industry. I think, what is it, like 40% of the crop fails for commercial peach farms?
Correct. And the sad thing is, I mean,
We're the
a lot
peach
of the
state.
seeds and everything that, I mean, they're owned by big corporate companies like Bayer and all them. I mean, we have got to keep our heirloom seeds alive and do that by sharing them with each other and helping each other grow. I mean, because like you said, they're bioengineering.
I think people don't realize. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, if you can keep an heirloom seed for a second season, that seed's going to be even stronger because it's already acclimated to your climate.
Correct.
It's already used to growing at the hot temperatures or whatnot wherever you're living. So it's going to be even stronger the second year that you save it.
Exactly. And year over year, it gets better and better. People just don't realize that.
And I realize that not everyone can grow their own food. Some people live in the city or they're have to be close to their job, but they could also go to their local farmers market, go to a farm store, like you're trying to start. Um, there's always options to get locally grown, healthy, nutrient dense food, and it's also helpful to know your farmer. Ask them about their farming practices. Do they add organic matter like their chicken litter, or like for me, like my rabbit manure, I put it on the garden. That's all going to increase the nutrient density of your food.
It
So
does.
okay, also I think we didn't really talk about this much the first go round, but as far as collaborating with other farms, um what would that look like as far as sharing equipment or whatnot?
I'm, I've got friends that have got equipment. I mean, they'll bring their equipment over and utilize it on my farm and help me, and I'll go help them with theirs. I mean, we do stuff like this all day long. If I need a truck, I mean, to haul livestock, I've got friends I can reach out to, or a trailer. I think everybody needs to come together and start working together to provide us with a better ability to farm. I mean, to be honest, on a local aspect.
There's definitely more. You need that because everyone wants to be self sufficient, but you need more of a community sufficiency,
Yes.
especially if you're not able to get things at a certain point in time. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but you'll know and you'll develop those relationships in your community on the community level with other farms and know how to collaborate in that regard.
Well, I mean, like we were talking about the raw milk. I mean, I'm not raising dairy cows. I mean, he's raising A2As. So, I mean, he's selling to me and I'm selling to my customers. And I mean, I'm providing a product. And I think collaborating with people like that, I mean, I don't have time to raise a bunch of goats and milk them and make goat soap and skin products, but I can hook up with a farm that's close by that does do that and provide it all in one place. And we're helping each
Yeah.
other. We're building a community, a strong community.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the Living Roots Foundation?
I do. Currently in the process of putting everything together. I mean, we're putting together an outreach program with the Living Roots Foundation, and we want to reach out to communities and help them help them get local gardens going. And we're looking at leasing land to um, grow our sheep population, our goat population, our meat chickens, our laying hens in those areas and give people the ability to buy local there. I mean, I can go 60 miles down the road and open up, lease some land and be able to provide vegetables and produce and meats and everything in that community also. So, I mean, we're looking at doing that. We're also looking at doing an outreach program to the local schools because, I mean, these kids today truly don't know where their food comes from. You ask them and they go to the grocery store or McDonald's. I mean, they really don't know where it comes from and the process that it takes to put it on them shelves.
Mm-hmm. And that's important for passing on that regenerative farming practice to the younger generation, not just telling them where the food comes from, but also passing on, like you're saying, the importance of the soil health and how you improve the soil health if they're
Right,
going to
natural.
pursue that in their future. I heard a statistic, and I can't remember where I heard this from, but the average American farmer is like 64 or 67 years old. So
Correct.
our farmers are aging out. Their
They are.
kids they're not passing in the farm on to their kids. And then we have all this farmland going to, foreign countries, and it's pretty scary. So we need to invest in our youth and encourage that education.
Yes, we do. I mean, because
Otherwise,
a
we're
lot
headed
of them
for,
don't know how to do it.
a
Yeah.
country that's not, yeah. Um, all right. And what's your long-term vision besides your farm store? I mean, that's enough of a a goal to tackle right there. But do you have anything else you wanted to mention for your farm?
Yes, I mean, like I said, we're looking at putting together the outreach programs. I mean, we're looking at putting together the local foods here in Macon, Georgia. We really want to just, like you said, teach people how to do this. I can't do everything. I'm only one person. I've only got so many people helping me. But if we come together as a community and work as a community, there's so much more we can accomplish. And I mean, if not now, it's for the next couple generations ahead of us. So that way they can learn. And like you said, they'll realize where their food truly comes from and how important it is to get food with true nutrients in it. It's just not nutrient dense.
Also, in closing, you mentioned a verse that it's from Psalms 1:3. They are like trees planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season. Whatever they do prospers. I hope that is the vision, the blessing that God puts on your farm, and that whatever you do prospers over there.
Greatly appreciate it.
So also, you guys, if y'all want to follow Chris, he is on Facebook. He'll also be a speaker at the Farmstead Forum event this fall, November 7th and 8th. Please purchase your tickets. We got the early bird special going on right now. You just use code all caps early bird at checkout. That's for adult admission. So if y'all want to come listen to Chris and get some more wisdom from him before you go out and start your homestead, come and meet him and ask him all your questions.
Yeah, I'll definitely tell you what not to do and what to do. I mean, I jumped in with both feet forward. I learned real quick. Chasing animals every day is no fun, and it's a growing process, but you'll get there.
No. And I was going to say, that's exactly what I was doing today with my goats. This Frenchie's about to drive me crazy. I swear. I don't know what to do with her. I really don't. I'm really hoping that her having a kid will mellow her out a little bit. But if not, she got to go.
I understand totally.
So,
well, we can all get together
Chris,
in
this
November.
conversation's been a blessing. Yes, hopefully. Well, it's been a blessing having you here on the show. We appreciate all your advice. You guys can visit more with Chris at the forum and ask him how his Living Roots Foundation nonprofit is going when y'all see him as well. If you're near Macon, you can stop by his farm store, Macon, Georgia. In about a month, you said? You'll have it hopefully up and running?
Yeah, I should have everything going in about a month. I'm working through all the paperwork now, so God willing, P&Z will pass everything and we'll move forward.
Well, there you go. Y'all go see him in Macon. Thanks, Chris, for joining us at the Farmstead Forum podcast.
Thank you, Emily. Take care.
Hey, thanks for listening. Join our Facebook group and follow us on Instagram for the latest updates. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit our website for upcoming events. For sponsorship opportunities, reach out to us through our website. See you next time.